Hello everyone, welcome to Google Cloud Serverless tutorial. So today we'll be going through our bonus lecture, which is GKE or Google Kubernetes Engine. So before starting with the GKE, let's go through the Kubernetes architecture. Now this architecture diagram I have copied from the Red Hat site, and before starting with the GKE, we should have understanding about Kubernetes and its architecture. So let's go through that first. Uh, so this is the Kubernetes cluster. Now any working Kubernetes deployment is called a cluster here. In cluster in basic terminology means a combination of few machines which work together and form a cluster. Now here the cluster is divided again into two parts. One is the control plane and the other is compute machines, or it can also be known as nodes. Now each node is a Linux based environment which could be a physical machine, virtual machine, or it can be on any of the clouds like private, public, hybrid. Now the Kubernetes control plane has four parts or components, we can say, which are Kube API server, Kube scheduler, Kube control manager, and etcd. Now Kube API server. So whenever we want to interact with the Kubernetes cluster, so it helps us to do that via the control plane. Now, the API server is can be accessible, or the Kube API server can be accessible via the API calls or the kubectl command line interface. So we will be using kubectl command line interface for our project or hands-on. Uh, it can also determine if the request is valid or not, and it will perform the necessary actions accordingly. Coming to the next component of the control plane, which is Kube scheduler. So this handles the needs of the pods or containers whenever we need like which node should have the provisioning of the pods and all. So it takes care of the that part. It also helps to regularly check the health of the cluster. Then coming to the Kube control manager part, so it has number of controller functions. So it is basically made up of a lot of controller functions which work together for solving the problems, like taking care of the clusters, like how many clusters should be running. Then if your pods goes down, or whenever we need scaling to happen, so it will make sure the requirements are met by consulting with the scheduler part. Now coming to the next part, that is the etcd. So all the configuration data are stored here for the cluster. So it stores all the state of the cluster with the help of key value pairs, and it is basically you can say it's the ultimate source of truth for the cluster. So Kubernetes control plane is basically handling all the deployments we do, or it is handling the compute machine part. So totally, you will not see this part majorly. Only the interaction via the kubectl is done to the Kube API server. So this is the only important part. Other things is handled by the Kubernetes by itself, or you can say self-managed by itself. Then coming to the compute machine part, so here note, as we say, to have a Kubernetes cluster, we need to have at least one node. So the basic requirement is that you should have at least a node, but based on your need, it can be one or more, and based on your design of the application, you can choose to have as many nodes as you need. Now, the coming to the pod is the smallest unit in the Kubernetes world. You can say, like in like you can say in the earlier or traditional systems, VMs were the smallest unit. So here in our Kubernetes part, here it is pods are the smallest unit. So you can say it is a kind of micro VM which contains all the necessary things for the application and application and the system kernel part. Minimum functionalities are there, and it will run our application. So again, inside the pod we can have multiple containers, or even at least we should have a single container. So if you have multiple containers, there should be a reason for that, and maybe if you need a tight coupling of the containers, then you should place it inside the same pod. Now, a pod always runs on a node. So this is important to remember. We can always add or remove as many nodes needed or as per our requirements, scale up or scale down. Now, coming to the container runtime engine. So this is needed to run the containers. Like in case of the Docker, we have Docker engine. So here we can use either the Docker engine or you can also use Rocket or RKT. Coming to the next part, which is the let's go through the kubelet first. So kubelet is it's like a communicator between the control plane part, which is managed by the Kubernetes, to the compute machines. So it is kind of a communicator between the two. So it helps to communicate between the control plane and the compute node. So whenever control plane needs to have some action or perform some action on the nodes, kubelet executes the action. So we interact via the kubectl command, and it goes through the kube API server, which is again connects to kubelet to the compute machine nodes, and this exactly executes our operations. Now coming to the other component of the compute machine, which is the kube proxy. So it is you can consider as a kind of firewall which handles the traffic or network which could come in or go out of the cluster. Now the other components here we see are persistent storage and container registry. Now persistent storage, this is basically used for to manage the application data, so that even if your pod dies, so now currently if you don't engage anything with your Kubernetes pods, so as soon as the pod dies, your data will not persist, or the data will also be gone. So for that to be have a persistent you should use persistent storage for that. Now persistent volumes can be specific to cluster rather than pods. Coming to the container registry part. So container registry, this is the registry where your container images are stored. So all the images whatever you create, so it will be stored here. So in our case of the Google Cloud, it will be GCR or Google Container Registry. Then coming to the last part of the architecture, which is the underlying infrastructure, it can be of any type, like it can be a physical machine, virtual machine, or it can be any cloud, public, private, hybrid cloud. So that's it from the Kubernetes architecture part.